Was really excited to see this movie, honestly, even though I'm not the biggest fan of this franchise. Here is my review of Annabelle Creation. Now, of course, this is the prequel to the 2014 film Annabelle, which was a prequel to The Conjuring from 2013, and then in 2015, I think, we had The Conjuring 2. Now, I don't really care too much about this franchise. It's not something I have any love for, though I was very surprised by Annabelle in 2014, maybe because of the atmosphere that it created, and I like the way Annabelle looks. She's really creepy, the doll itself, but I didn't like The Conjuring at all, and I slightly enjoyed The Conjuring 2. Now, I've kind of heard through the grapevine, thanks to some critics and friends, even though I don't really know all the details, but I was hearing some really amazing things about this film. And I really loved the director of this movie because he made a really cool, good, solid first film, horror film last year with Lights Out, starring Teresa Palmer. So, you know, maybe some new blood. Maybe this is going to be another great director, great new horror director, because I have a slight love and extreme hate for this genre. It's been around, the genre's been around for a long time, and we've seen it all. And I was hoping with this new Annabelle Creations movie, we would see something slightly new. I was hoping so. So in this film, it takes place many years before Annabelle. We get to know the man and his wife, who are the man that created the doll, inspired by his little daughter. And so we get to know a husband and wife and the kid. Tragedy strikes. The movie fast forwards to a few years later, and there is this group of orphans and a nun who come in to stay at this house because movie, and that's where the scariness ensues. Hopefully we'll get some interesting characters, a wonderful story, some emotions, some great frights. Leave us something as we're walking home, scared out of our mind. That's what I was hoping was going to happen. Is that the case? Sadly, it is not. The film is not horrible. I feel like it is somewhat well-paced, even though it did a lot of things that I have seen before, and sometimes I'm more forgiving, especially if the movie does create good atmosphere, which sadly it didn't really, even though I did like a little bit of the production value. There wasn't a single character in the film yet. There are some notable actor and actresses, especially in the leads, but they kind of take a back seat to when all these orphans come in. And I think one of the young little girls in the film was also another film that came out last year, the other prequel to Ouija. I think it was Ouija Origins of Evil, which a film I did like. But the girls, they're fine. The movie, I felt, really didn't rely on jump scares, though there was a few in the film. Nothing really grabbed me at all. You gotta show me something new to get me, or just get me a reason to want a jump scare. Like, oh, build it up in some way so when it does happen, like, oh, you got me. Even though I felt like it was gonna come, I was not surprised. You know, so I liked a little bit of the setup, even though it did take a while to finally get to something that was somewhat interesting. But when it finally got to that point, when we get to know these new characters, and there are some interesting things with the doll, even though I guess what I really like, and I know I don't expect this, I would love for Annabelle to say something. I don't know, I think it'd be more interesting. You know, turn it into the Child's Play franchise for a little bit, you know? Let the doll have a personality. It's just so boring. It's like watching Friday the 13th movie where you have this menacing character, but he doesn't really have a personality, doesn't say anything. He's not that interesting to me. I would almost want something more like Freddy Krueger or Chucky, you know, especially it's a killer doll. I know I shouldn't expect this. I wasn't really expecting it, but I would have nice if there was some surprise. There were some hints on that, like maybe the doll can now finally, we can see the doll move, and there was some moments, not with the doll, but with what else happened surrounding the doll that were pretty cool. I have to say, I have to admit, I was like, I'm not really emotionally involved in this movie. I don't care much about the characters or the story. It's pretty bland. We've all seen this before. It's just more of the same. There's really nothing new with this film. Now, if you're easily scared and you're easily motivated in a horror film, and you can bypass all the cliches and the tropes, then I figure you're gonna have a really good time with this movie, because the movie does look great. The acting is fine overall. Yeah, there's stupid characters in the sense that they make stupid decisions or they say stupid things, but there was never a moment that I was fearing for my life. Never a single moment that I really cared about any of the characters. I didn't hate anybody. Honestly, I didn't hate anybody. It just never. There was never a moment where it's like, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so sad. I can't believe that's happening. And there's nothing added to the movie in that sense when it came to the music. Sometimes even music can save a movie for me. If it can have a really great score and it can rise above the silly cliched story and the characters that just do the same thing we've seen in horror movies before. I have to admit, I liked a little bit how the movie tied itself to the 2014 movie. I kind of liked that just a little bit. It didn't really win me over. It didn't really change my rating, but it was something that was a little dressing on my salad, a very bland salad that didn't have much going for it. So I'm slightly disappointed by this movie. It just didn't really work for me. It didn't, again, as I said before, a horror movie can have major things wrong with it and things we've seen before, but if it creates some eerie, creepy atmosphere that you can cut with a knife, it's so thick you can cut it, then I will believe anything. I'll believe ghosts and aliens and viruses and spirits and crazy nuns and dolls and stuff like that. I'm not excited at all to see any more Annabelle movies anymore, because I don't think there's really much to say. I think they're moving on to the Nun movie now. So they're going to tell stories about the Nun. They'll probably have another Conjuring movie, which I'm not looking forward to at all. Horror genre for me is it's a hard genre to fall in love with, because I've been so disappointed time and time and time again. So I don't know what else to say about this. I would like to see more from this director. I'd like for him to do something more original, like he did with Lights Out, which I think I've only seen once, but remember that movie still kind of stuck with me a little bit, even though I've seen it a year ago. I think this guy's a talented director, and I feel like he needs to step away from what he's doing right now and try and come up with something original and interesting and scary. Because Lights Out, for all its problems, it was still very scary. So Annabelle Creation, something that I would say if you really need to see it, use a free ticket. Just use a free ticket. I would not recommend actually paying full price to go see this movie. So that's all I got to say about the film. In my opinion, it is overrated. It's overhyped. It is not a good horror film at all. It's definitely one to forget, and something that I'm gonna forget after I talk about it right now. Even though it wasn't the worst film I ever saw, it's just not something that will stick with me anytime soon. I'm going to give Annabelle Creation, I will give it 2 stars out of 4.